Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the keynote session round at the DSCI FINSEC Conclave 2021. Unfortunately, due to some unavoidable circumstances, our speaker, Mr. Nitin Dubey, Senior Pre-Sales Manager South Asia, Kaspersky, would not be able to join us. And we would be moving on to our second keynote of the day from SentinelOne. SentinelOne is also a platinum partner for the DSCI FINSEC Summit. And now representing SentinelOne, I would like to invite to stage Mr. Diwakar Dayal, Regional Director, India and SAARC. Welcome.
Hey, thanks, Vikas. Hope the audience can hear me clearly, and yourself as well. It's a great pleasure to be here, team. I know many of you, and for those of you who may not know me, my name is Diwakar Dayal. I have been in the cybersecurity industry for almost 20 plus years now. I've had the good fortune of seeing some very interesting and exciting times in those years. I have worked with organizations, very prestigious leadership organizations like Qualys, Tenable, Cisco, Juniper, Wipro, Dimension Data, a lot of them that I'm proud of. And I'm currently the country manager for SentinelOne. I've just come on board a couple of months back, and we are just about getting started in India. And in the next maybe 14, 15 minutes, what I would really want to do is take you through what is, really the problem statement that we are seeing it from the company's lens, but also is there something that we can do about it to really make lives easier for most of you out here. Allow me to share my screen, as I bring it on. All right. Is my screen visible? Can I get an audio cue?
Yes, Jiva, it's visible and you're audible.
Thank you so much. Right. So really what I want to cover in the next maybe, like I said, 15 minutes is what is the role of really the endpoint security, right, in building the enterprise resiliency? And I think the last session, we did have an interesting panel in terms of what is building and what is resiliency, right? I'm not going to get into that, but really what I want to cover in the next couple of minutes is one, why traditional protective approaches are not working any longer. I think I don't have to talk about why, most of you get it, but we will just look at a couple of examples. Second, of course, is that the complexities that have kind of come over, which have made CISO's ability to respond even more difficult, given what we've seen in the last year or so. And of course, what is that we can do to solve this problem? What is the importance of automation in response to this kind of processes? And that's what I would like to really spend a lot more time in the short time that we have here. With that, I mean, clearly, one thing is very, very clear, right? Last 1 year has been one of the toughest lives in most of our, in our entire lifetime, right? It's been tough on all of us. It's taken a huge toll, especially on the IT and the security community. While most of the organizations, all of us have been planning and talking about digital transformation for over 10 years, no one expected suddenly that a 3-year roadmap would be reduced to almost 3 weeks in terms of execution timelines. And clearly, there was a need for a very resilient infrastructure, specifically the banking and FSI infrastructure of our country, which I think the pandemic did try to expose all of its vulnerability, right? Starting from work from home and not really having cloud connectivity, the perimeters vanishing and whatnot. While most of us, I think, can be proud that our Indian BFSI industry as a whole has stood the test of time, provided the services to our citizens where we could, but we've also taken a lot of bleeding. Yeah. And as they know, and as they say, sometimes never let a good crisis go to waste. Some of our BFSI leaders have used the last 1 year to strengthen the security landscape. But what I really want to get your attention towards is how the CISO today, in a way, is creating that enterprise firewall, which is nothing but operating within the 4 walls of the house, right? And for them to really, and for all of us to really execute on the digital transformation, I think we really understand clearly now that there needs to be a lot more resiliency in the way we have our security transformation process. And some of us have been lucky that we got the budgets that we could go on and execute on them. Some of them have been put under the bus in terms of, struggling with manpower and technology access and, of course, budgets. But overall, the management, the business management have understood that digital transformation is important to stay alive, but even more important is the security transformation, right? It's a very, very high time that some of the organizations who have still stuck with the fossilized security infra that they may have need to really move towards the next generation infrastructure. Those of you who know me and heard me before, I like to tell a good story. And what better story than really the history of the endpoint security? I think most of you are aware. Some of us who have been lucky enough to, work in the early '90s in security, we've seen this gradual shift of, signature-based technologies to what we call cloud-based technologies in the last 4 or 5 years. Right, the antivirus era had its own, what do you say, problems that we looked upon, but also it came up with its own signature based technology that could be addressed. But in the last maybe 10 years or so, what we call the endpoint protection era, we have seen the sophistication of the endpoints really kind of mature, right? The attackers have had it easy on us. The endpoints are proliferated, and obviously, different versions, different OSs, patch managements not being able to catch up on time. We have seen that protection became even more important, while a lot of technology innovation happened around how we use the cloud to really power our protection. But really, in the last maybe year or so, we are seeing that a lot of newer attacks have happened. I'm not going to get into them because many of you are experts already here, and we've also heard our earlier speakers talk about them. But when you look at how do I handle a supply chain attack or a LOTL, right? Clearly, we need a lot more resilient defense system, right? A system that really can help scale people. It's not people based, right? A system that is a lot more machine built, purpose built in terms of real time, what do you say, execution. And also, most importantly, is can we really manage and shrink the mean time to respond or detect as we are seeing the challenge grow in front of us? The answer to that clearly is a big no, right? As most of us in India today are worried about and are preparing ourselves for the work from home part two version, right? Something that we didn't expect really with the second wave coming. Clearly, that the problems that we faced last year are not going to go away, right? We are going to continue to have legacy systems. That is the way this country has developed. We're not going to throw them out of the window just one fine day. And hence, whatever cool technology we're talking about has to work on these legacy systems, right? And the other aspect is that there's no two doubts about that the cloud has all the benefits it provides in terms of managing a lot of these problems. But sometimes if access to the cloud itself is a problem, right, I think it's going to be even more difficult to really solve this problem. And that is where we are seeing that a lot of cool tech leverages a lot more of cloud. But unfortunately, when the end users today have very poor last mile connectivity because they are connecting from their house and whatnot, they are going to struggle in terms of taking the benefit that the cloud really provides. And the last but most important problem that we've continued to have in the last couple of years really around skill gap. That's not going to go anywhere away soon. The only good news is that I think lots of our youngsters understand that cybersecurity is a place that there are jobs that are being created, and it's one of the areas where it will develop a lot more, and hence hopefully we'll have a lot more talent joining us, right, to leverage and manage our systems. But clearly, the investments that a lot of banking and FSI companies have made in the last couple of years, especially moving in from the 2010 first generation of SOC to the last 2-3 years of second generation of SOC, of the active SOC and whatever the S jargon that we may have to call it, there is a challenge. The challenge is that there are still too many tools, right? There are a lot of overlaps between tools offered by the endpoint, by the network, by the applications and whatnot. The noise has not reduced. In fact, I think quadrupled in terms of it's continued to kind of get more and more noisier. The signal to noise ratio has gotten more poor, right? Of course, the experts are scarce. I think if you take an average CISO life in the last maybe 10 years in India, I'm sure it's reduced almost to 2 or 3 years per organization, which is really not a good sign in terms of ability to really solve the problem that they have come to solve, right? And that is just, these are only adding to those problems. There are, of course, blind spots and bottlenecks that they continue to have, and hence there clearly is some kind of a need to kind of look at this problem statement just a bit differently and say, hey, is there another way to look at this, attacking this problem? Sometimes it feels like we're losing the battle, right? But I think all is not lost. In the last maybe a couple of days and months and years, we have seen that when we have been able to reduce the human intervention, right, and really bring machine learning and artificial intelligence to kind of help us manage this problem, we seem to be getting successful, right? Poneman Institute conducted a research last year, and they came up with this, finding, which is very startling, that almost 197 days is the time it takes for an attacker to be on the network before you discover them. It's simply because if you had just human beings looking at a lot of data, because the signal to loss ratio is so low, too many false positives, it's very difficult to catch up. Hence, maybe there is a way that we need to look at AI and ML to really help reduce this noise and give the humans the clear and clean data that can really help them kind of address this problem. And one way of doing that is really looking at the holistic picture in terms of how do you manage all of these. I think clearly, it starts with, first and foremost, in today's disconnected world where the perimeters don't exist, people work from wherever they are, work from anywhere as such. The solutions that we have need to be autonomous, right? We need to have the ability to be able to detect without any kind of dependence, either on the cloud or any other systems, or even have prior knowledge of the threat, basically making sure that without increasing noise, we're able to independently work and solve the problem then and there. Second, of course, is automation that I spoke about earlier, machine speed over human speed. We need to leverage that to reduce this noise that's really creating, and make sure that the humans don't interfere, right? We don't become the man in the middle when the automation is taking place with regards to cybersecurity, response. The other part is correlation, things that can talk to each other and make a lot more intelligent decisions, data-driven decisions. I think we have an opportunity to really help reduce the analyst workload, the SOC team's workloads, and improve the actionability of the detections. One of the most important aspects that I've always focused on in my entire 20 plus years of career, working with CISOs as your partners, is how can we empower all of you, right? If you are able to lead and not just follow an IT team, a diktat, or the marketing or the sales, we should be feeling a lot more confident in really facing all these kind of attacks, all these kind of things that we don't plan for, in a lot more resilient fashion. Of course, most of you know about one platform, the ability to switch really between endpoints, networks, and device controls and vulnerability management, all being able to talk to each other in real time using APIs and whatever is that works to make it a lot more cohesive in the way we solve the problem. Zero trust has, I think, come of age. We are looking at a lot more enhanced zero trust in the last couple of quarters. It's really all about how can I simplify, right, a way to execute. Never trust, always verify, but to a point where every aspect of the application, the processes, and the endpoints talking to each other follow this without really putting any further load on the system. So what I want to introduce to you today really is something which is very, unique. It's a patented technology that SentinelOne really has been going to market within the last couple of years across the world. It's what we call our storyline, right? And really, to the point I was making earlier, we need to take the power of real-time machine-built context to really look at data and processes as they happen in real time. And for that to happen and function, it needs to have a high velocity. It needs to make sure that it's able to protect in real time. There is, very few time available to really go back and check with my cloud consoles, with something else to say, hey, is this looking good or is not looking good? Because we use static AI and behavior AI in real time, right, sitting inside the processor, right, inside the process, I'm sorry, we're able to see each and every process really taking place in terms of, is it a good one? Is it a bad one? Is it something that is going to cause that a behavior that's not supposed to? And then be able to act on it in real time, right? And of course, if at all a breach does happen, very importantly is, can you recover from that breach? Can you respond with really reversing all kind of unauthorized changes, right? Even before it kind of one shuts down the laptop or the business, but also spread across. We have unique patent around the industry in terms of how one we can click and do using one click and recover. We can just pull back a laptop or a PC or a server from a ransomware encrypted state to the state before that. And of course, more importantly, is that ensure that all the unnecessary files and disruption that has been created can all be quarantined, deleted in real time. Of course, if you have a network or a management policy that you need to inform, alert, and then take action, that can be done as well. But really, the power of taking decisions in real time is what we need to give to all our endpoints, right? Including also how we take that same power and leverage it on the cloud. It basically means that we are able to use real-time AI and ML in going beyond just the vectors of endpoint. We should be able to really take the telemetry, not just from the endpoints, but from containerized workloads, intelligent cloud devices, any other telemetry from network and applications, and then be able to really make decisions a lot more quicker, a lot more in real time, and be able to integrate with various other products and platforms that are really helping you protect. We use Nexus integrations, part of our application solution marketplace, which really helps integrate using open APIs any kind of data that can be ingested into our systems, or maybe give it back to another data lake that can be mineable and, of course, exportable at any point. Remember, all of this power with the power of not just delivering by the cloud, but also be able to deliver this on a private cloud if needed to be, or on-prem, if at all there is a requirement for that. And this, we believe, is the tech that can really help manage a lot of our current problems, right, in real time, but also make sure that as and when the landscape changes in terms of the threats, we're able to understand, leverage this power that we already have, and be able to sort them out. With that, I think it's clear that the tools and the technologies we used the last century, the last 10 years, the last 5 years, today may not be able to solve the problems of what we're seeing today, but also what is going to come tomorrow. And we believe at SentinelOne, right, we have been able to solve these problems for our customers successfully in the last couple of years across the world. We've just about started operations here in India, and we are hopeful that working with our customers here, like yourself, right, and other partners of ours, we should be able to give you the power of technology that really helps you scale your people in terms of how you manage your SOC, how you manage your endpoints, and of course, you want to take it to an extended detection and response platform. But also make sure that we are giving you the power of automation to shrink the mean time to respond and recover to what we call a real-time response era, right? There is no time to go back, check, do the diligence and come back to act. It's already 1 week and 1 month too late. And that is the kind of power that we're talking about with regards to active EDR. A lot of our patented technologies have been super successful across the world amongst our customers, right? We've added over 5,500 customers in the last couple of years. A lot of them are top Fortune 10 companies, right? And clearly, we have a lot of names in the banking that obviously, because of our confidentiality, we're not able to put them up here, but these are the referenceable customers that we have in this part of the world. One of the last and most interesting aspect of what we are doing here and how it's being recognized is what I want to leave you with, which is the Gartner Peer Insight. As many of you know, Gartner is a respectable analyst, and they run what they call the Peer Insights, which basically invites customers of existing products to come and rate and share feedback on how the products are behaving, how are they managing those products. And we're really proud, and leading this SentinelOne for India, I'm really happy to share that we have been rated as the highest number of ratings for a vendor in EDR, but also the most rated EDR vendor in terms of the voice of the customer report for EDR technology. And all of this is information is available with Gartner. You can just Google and get them in the public domain. And most importantly is customers who have actually embarked on this journey with us. they have seen that compared to everybody else in terms of how we are able to provide solutions, we've also increased the return on investment of solutions, simply because, one, we've automated most of the response systems. Two is that primarily the response time and the resolution time that the SOC teams have to take have been dramatically cut down, right? And we can show them to you as and when we get an opportunity. And this basically means that you have more business uptime and reduced downtime. With that, I come to an end to my presentation. I've not been able to see the questions so far, but really happy to take if you had any questions at all. I am conscious of time, and I think I've kind of just finished it exactly in 15 minutes. So happy that even if it's a physical stage when we're speaking or on a virtual stage here, we're able to give time back to all of you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Dayal, for that really interesting overview of SentinelOne and sharing with us your wonderful insights. And thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. Really looking forward to some questions and feedbacks maybe at a later stage. We should be able to take them. I have Yashasvi, my security director in India as well, here with me. Yash, is there any questions that we can immediately address? I guess none so far, or maybe
Yeah.
we'll take them offline. Yeah.
We'll definitely share with you any questions that are
Thank
put
you.
in the session. Thank you.